council-manager form of government, the city council is the governing body elected by the citizens. The council hires a city manager to serve as the chief executive of the city government. The city manager advises the council on their decisions but has no formal authority to vote on laws enacted by the council. Once laws or other decisions are made, the city manager is ultimately responsible for carrying out the council's wishes. As local legislators, council members are responsible for and responsive to the citizens who elected them. Depending on the city's charters and state laws, they may perform the following functions: review and approve the annual budget, plan for the future of the city, establish long and short-term objectives and priorities, oversee performance of city manager, oversee effectiveness of programs, establish tax rates, enter into legal contracts, borrow funds, pass ordinances and resolutions, modify the city's charter, regulate land use through zoning laws, regulate business activity through licensing and regulations, regulate public health and safety, communicate policies and programs to residents, respond to constituent needs and complaints, and lastly, represent the community to other levels of government.
Hi, my name is Matthew Johnson. I have the privilege of interviewing the candidates for the November 2020 election. Right now I'm here with Mayor Lori West. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm good.
Good.
Would you like to address the citizens directly?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I would just like to thank the citizens for the honor of serving 2 years as your mayor. It's been an exciting, sometimes very challenging time, but definitely worth the investment. And I'm looking forward to the next 2 years of really working with the citizens and the city staff and budget to continue to make Galesburg a wonderful, healthy, financially stable place for people to live, work, and play.
Perfect. All right, so you've been on as mayor for 2 years, and what have the things that have been addressed in these 2 years that you would like to see continue to move forward into 2021?
Wow. So there are multiple things that I'd like to see continue to move forward. One is the shift in the style or form of government. You are well aware that we do have a city manager. Council worked painstakingly on that last year, and I'm very proud of the council that we have in place, every one of them. We recognized the need for either a full-time mayor, which is not an option at this point, or a city manager to run the day-to-day business of the city. That is imperative that we continue to move forward with that model. The budget supports that model, and that is one of the priorities that we need to continue. The other priority is continuing to solicit and give purpose and direction to citizens so that they can be a part of the city once again, so that they can be heard and seen and partnered with the city staff and the council to move Galesburg forward in a positive way and not be kneecapped at every turn. So we are going to definitely need to improve that. COVID-19 has not helped our situation. Streaming actually allows more visibility because it is online 7/24, 365. There will be a point in time when we will have people back in council chambers, but that is not anytime in the future. So transparency is huge. I also would like to have better access or better opportunities to really work with the citizens to have them understand the true place in which the city is at, both financially, as we have lost staff through attrition and discovery. We have new staff, new relationships, and a new city manager coming in. There are lots of missed opportunity here in this beautiful little city. And so those are things that we'll be exploring in priorities. In addition to that, we do not have base documentation, a foundation of documentation that the city needs to function in a healthy manner. For example, the city does not have a master plan. We must get a master plan in place. We must do a continuous improvement plan for something other than our DPW and then follow those plans. We must solicit citizen participation in the making of those plans so it truly is a representative of what the citizens of the city want. The citizens' tax dollars run the city. They should have a very loud voice through council and individually on where those dollars go. So those are some of the priority areas that we'll be working on.
So the city manager is a newer position for the city of Galesburg.
Correct.
And Gabe Barker has been with the city for how long?
Gabe will have been on staff for 6 months, October 13th. The city manager position was created again because there wasn't transparency, there wasn't good sharing information, or let's just say we had lots of room for improvement. We didn't have a model that supported a full-time on-site daily operations oversight. It doesn't make sense for a council to evaluate a staff person that they don't supervise and or don't work directly with. So these are sorts of models that are no longer appropriate for 2020. So Gabe has, and I'll say as our first child, we learn. We have learned with Gabe. We know now some things that we will do better as we move into the contract negotiation with the new city manager.
And moving forward, how do you feel that relationship with the city manager should be nurtured between mayor, city council, and manager?
I think that, well, firstly, understand that the city manager, if we're going to do an org chart of the city, it is the citizens. It is then the council and then the city manager and then the staff from there. So the citizens, the council is responsible to the citizens. The city manager is responsible to the council. The relationship with city manager initially was an orientation of where we were at the time, the direction that council wanted to be going in, and basically assigning a city manager the job from getting from A to B to eventually to C and down the road. One of the things that we will do different is I spent a great deal of time with City Manager Barraker, orienting him, turning over files. As in any municipality, there are multiple hot issues at one time. Working very closely with him the first couple of months and then stepping back slowly so that I wasn't undermining any of the authority that he had. The new city manager will be the same relationship. I will continue to work with her as I transition City Manager Barraker's position and responsibilities to the new city manager. And I work with them very closely. I'm in contact with them on a weekly, sometimes daily basis, because the model is that the city manager will carry out the vision under the direction of the council, the vision of the council and the citizens under the direction of the council. So it's not a hands-off sort of relationship at all.
Okay. You also brought up transparency. Obviously, with this pandemic, it's changed a lot of things. But pre-pandemic and then moving forward into 2021, how do you feel that that has been mended in a way? How do you feel that the government of Galesburg has become more transparent?
Well, I first off want to say that I believe in a constant continuous improvement model. So we've done a lot of things, but we have a lot of room to grow. And again, I think that this council has done an excellent job at growing and being open-minded to, just because we've done it this way for 20 years doesn't mean it is the right way to do it in 2020. Just because we did it in '96 doesn't mean we should do it in 2020. We are a global economy. We are an ever-changing under COVID and executive orders, et cetera, climate in the city. And the municipality needs to be on top of that 24/7, 365. So transparency was an issue in the past, and we have done the best that we could under the circumstances to try to be open and give multiple means and sources of information to the citizens, with the improvements on the website, establishing a Facebook page. Yes, even streaming, it allows a broader access. People are busy. They're working, 18, 20 hours a day. If I want to flip and watch something at 10 o'clock at night on my phone, it's going to be easier than coming to a 6 o'clock meeting. I understand that there are less than 2% of the population in Kalamazoo County that do not have access to a computer or a cell phone. And they can come in a local library, they can look, the library will help them pull up the feed. So I think that we're doing good. There's always room for improvement. Transparency in that we are now, for example, just one example, not just giving a basic handwritten assessment of, or rather accounting of, I'll take one line item, motor pool. Prior to our new city manager coming on, we were given very little information about accounts payable. Now, we simply print the accounts payable in the budget software, and that is there for all council to see. So, for example, we may have only been approving $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 prior to the new city manager, and now we're actually seeing the true expenditures of the city. So our payables is much more transparent, and always any of this information is available to anyone who wants it.
Do you feel that citizen involvement hasn't been to a place where you'd like it to be, and how would you want to further improve that? That's been the biggest thing in our short conversation, is that you never stop improving. You know, we can get to an acceptable place, but we still want to push that even more. So how would you, as mayor moving forward, how would you help the citizens get more involved with their government?
So firstly, the important thing that from a sociological standpoint you need to get is people need a purpose to be involved. They need a purpose, and they need an open-ended invitation to be involved. That's basic grassroots. Then they need a direction. So we need to give them a purpose. Part of the purpose is we are a financially stable city. We are not going to tell you no on everything. And I realize that, I don't want to look back, but that is the history. There is a shift. We are a financially sound city. We have lots of opportunity now ahead of us as we have maybe taken some corrective action. I feel like we're really at ground zero, and we're at a place to build a better, stronger community for all of us who live and work here. So there's lots of opportunity. We need to give people purpose. We need to accept them and meet them for who they are and where they're at. Everybody's voice matters. Everybody's voice matters. We need to move to a place where we're talking with and not about. And those are ways that we then have that direction together. We get that synergy to move forward and make it a better place.
So how could the citizens get a hold of not only you, but council to voice their concerns or voice the issues that are important to them? What are the different ways that they could get a hold of?
Absolutely. So first I would like to say that I am the first mayor in the history of the city to have an email, and that is on the website, and it is very simple, mayor@galesburgcity.org. And I instituted that the very first week I was in office. So 24/7 you have access to my email. Again, we've instituted a Facebook, which is a big means of communication in today's world. And I think that setting a positive foundation and a soliciting or a willingness to have people involved as opposed to turning them away constantly or not taking what a citizen says, whether you like it or not, for face value, and moving forward with that, because we represent the citizens. So it's a little shift in philosophy, maybe a little shift in how we do business. We want to be compassionate. We want to serve the people of the city. We're not here to serve the office staff, the city manager, or council. We're here to serve the citizens of our city.
So the city of Galesburg has recently, made steps forward in trying to meet that. You brought up Facebook, you brought up streaming, you brought up how you're the first mayor with email. How do you feel that technology, with it changing so fast, how do you feel like the citizens of Galesburg have been able to keep up with that, to be able to be more involved with government? And what do you think that they can do to even become more a part of their community?
Absolutely. So it starts with first. I think that's two parts. So first is the technology piece. I would be hard pressed to walk the streets of the city and not see someone with a cell phone in their hand. If you have a cell phone in your hand, you can get on a website. You can go look at a municipal thumbnail. You can look at an executive order. You can look at the minutes or view what the council is doing. You have an opportunity because you have that cell phone in your hand. That is an opportunity, okay? Now, how do we get the purpose that I spoke about? How do we get people excited about that? And again, I'm just going to say that we are moving in a positive direction. You will find that council and staff are very positive, and we get compliments when people come in our office now or come to council or view council about how positive we are, because we're excited. There are great things that we can do in this beautiful little Midwestern town. So being honest, I think, is part of it. Being transparent is part of it. Being upbeat and positive and soliciting that is part of it, and giving as much information and education to our citizens about where their dollars are going and what is happening in their city is imperative.
And lastly, the last issue you brought up was having a master plan for the city of Galesburg. One of the things that I've heard has to be reinstated is a new charter. And how would that be reinstated?
So we have a charter that was made in 1996, which was a wonderful, totally on point charter when it was made. But again, it is 2020, almost 2021. And if we just look at the technological changes since then, there have been huge leaps. So with the charter, as we've had conversations with deputy attorney generals, we find that there are two ways to bring our charter up to 2020 and beyond standards. One is to completely redo the charter, which is not advisable based on the dialogues with the attorneys general. It is a whole very drawn out legal process, and it takes a couple of years to actually go through the complete process. Then there is an opportunity to amend the charter, which doesn't throw the charter out at all. What it does is take specific pieces of the charter that are no longer applicable or are no longer efficient, effective ways of governing, and addresses them individually with an amendment. For example, as your mayor, I receive $75 a month before taxes for all of the work, period, before taxes. After taxes, that's about $62 a month. Who in this city would work 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60 hours as the city was shuttered for $62 a month? That doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't. Now then, put a city manager in place, and I don't need a city manager's salary. However, how will you involve people in this city? Our commissioners make $60, about $44 a month. Well, if you want someone to come sit for 2 hours and say yes or no and be done, maybe that's appropriate. That is no longer the role of a commissioner or a trustee in the city. There is lots of work to do. It's not just 2 hours at a meeting. If you're going to serve the city well, you need to be doing your homework. So let's take that for example. Other districts around us, townships and cities, council members make 100 or Comstock makes 250. I'm not asking for that. I'm simply saying if you want to involve people, there is a financial incentive, correct? So that's one thing. So we could make an amendment that says council would get $100 a meeting or council would get whatever. I'm just throwing those numbers out there. It's not my decision to make. It's the citizens' decision to make, but that's an example. Moving from a mayor who is a chief executive officer, which is what I am in the city currently by charter, to a city manager form of government is another amendment that we would make in the charter. Cities who have mayor council government, mayors are full-time or at least part-time. They're not just 2 hours a month. So as you can see, with everything that it takes to run a municipality, 2 hours a month of oversight is just ludicrous. We've got to change that form of government so that we can continue to be strong and healthy in the 21st century. So amending the charter is a quicker process. It allows us to go line by line through the charter again and address what is working and what needs to be updated. So I will actually be starting that process just after the election, setting the groundwork for that process to begin in 2021.
Would you say that in the 2 years that you've been mayor, what have you been most proud of that you've been able to accomplish?
Wow. There have been some significant building code violations in the city that we have, that I have pushed forward. I have brought a couple businesses to the city. I have worked diligently to be very knowledgeable and informed. I absolutely believe in making informed decisions. I can never have enough information. I have worked diligently to try to get the council to a place where we are having, again, synergy around our thinking. I have had a very open door. I hope that people can talk to me, and they do. You don't have to like me. You don't have to say good things, but it's important that we talk through whatever the issues are. I have moved to a consent agenda on council agendas, which expedites the process. I have called for significant internal and external checks and balances within the system, and moved the council in a direction that I think is better serving the city. I've given a lot of time, and I don't expect a pat on the back. I stepped into this. I do what I say I'm going to do, and it's somewhat gratifying to live here and watch the changes. Worked closely with the bike trail, and although that was a bit controversial, I think it's a very good thing for the city as it's getting done. It looks beautiful. It's bringing people to town. I'm happy to say I chose to move to Galesburg 5 years ago. I've known about the city, driving through it, working, commuting. My husband and I chose to come here because it's a beautiful little city, and I think we've done great things to improve it.
You speak about how you're always trying to learn, you're always trying to take things and incorporate them. What have you learned from, not just the county, but say counties or cities across state or in the UP? What have other cities done that you've tried to incorporate, and what would you like the citizens of Galesburg to know, that even though they are a smaller community, if it's better for the community, what can be done that other cities are doing?
Mm-hmm. I think that what I have learned is that there's always so much more to learn. As I liaison with other townships and cities and city managers and township supervisors and other downtown development authorities, and even our elected officials beyond the city of Galesburg, we have learned that there are multiple opportunities for economic development. We are now enrolled in the Michigan Economic Development Redevelopment Ready Community Program. And that is walking us through some very basic economic development documents that were not part of the city's government in the past. It is, as we look at other towns and villages that have walked through this process, we're seeing some wonderful things that they've done that we've been able to glean and put in our wish list or in our future planning for economic development. We have looked at different ways to run our agenda and different ways to form committees, and forming different committees. We have looked at city managers, for example, and do we need a part-time city manager? Do we need a full-time city manager? What are the responsibilities of the city manager? We have looked at other opportunities to put in place contracts as opposed to having more staff on board. And as a business model, staff is a liability. Not that we don't need staff, we do. We need core staff, but we don't want an unpredictable budgetary liability on our books. We can't always find within our immediate outreach, the expertise that we need to fill those positions. And so contracting out is something that we have been implementing, and there's some controversy around that. We do hire local, absolutely hire local when we can. We do utilize local contractors when we can, and we will continue to do that. However, the contracts that we do have in place now actually are saving the citizens money. They're saving the city money, and we will not negotiate contracts unless they actually can save us money, or we're mandated to have a service. And I'll just take water, for example. We still save money on our water contract because we need 2 licensed operators. We don't have them on staff, and so we have to, by law, contract that out. We're still saving money contracting that versus employing 2 individuals to do that. So, and going through Michigan Municipal League and the trainings at Michigan Municipal League, we've learned about ethics. We've learned about protocol in governing meetings in council chambers. We've learned about opportunities to go into closed session, what those are, what those aren't. We've really tried to polish up and brush up and do everything the right way by dotting our I's and crossing our T's before we do it. We've learned about refacing and streetscaping, city parking lots. How many bicycle racks do we need? How many cars do we need per business? So we've really done a lot of learning as a council. And I personally liaison with building associations and, again, other township leaders and mayors on a regular basis, and the Kalamazoo County Police Department, et cetera. So I've learned a lot, and I continue to learn.
Leslie, is there anything that you want to address or that you'd like to speak upon to the citizens of Galesburg?
Sure. I would like to, I would like this next council to be at a place where we can work together very closely. We are on the same page with the knowledge and the opportunity to gain the knowledge in a real-time sort of manner, and with a positive attitude to move forward. To really, we are at a ground zero here of being able to build a stronger, bigger, better Galesburg. Part of that is budgetary, part of that is moving from a reactive model of government to a planning and proactive model. And anyone who knows either of these models knows that it takes more to put out fires than it does to prevent them. I believe very strongly in prevention, and that means that we're going to continue to be honest and more transparent and open to the citizens to participate, to take an active role, and to have an active voice, because your voices count. Council is open to anybody who wants to communicate with council, and I beseech you to talk with us, not about us. Until we come to a place where we can have that conversation, as difficult as it may be for some, we will not improve. We must get better. We must be positive. We have a beautiful city. We must promote it and continue to improve it.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Mayor.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your time and the opportunity.